Sharing is shredding. Sharing is shredding.
Hey everyone, Mike here. Welcome to Sharing is Shredding. The concept is simple. We want to better know members of our community through their instruments. Our guest has brought a guitar that's meaningful to them, and I've brought something similar from my personal collection. Today we have with us Ben Verellen, mastermind behind Verellen Amplifiers, proprietor of the fantastic themed drinking establishment Barhouse, and 1/3 of the band Helms Alee. Hey Ben.
Hi. Master something.
That's all you. You were all three of those things.
Well, I'm integral along with a bunch of people on all those things, but
You were gracious in that. I hear we're talking Jazzmasters.
yeah,
today.
that's the guitar that I play. Yeah.
Did you? Is it here somewhere?
It is here. Yeah.
Can we take a look at it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. Pristine condition, meticulously.
100% original, collector
100%
grade.
original.
Mint.
Mint. Yeah. I mean,
Haven't changed a thing.
this is, you gotta spend a lot of money to get them relicked like this. There's real boogers and.
That's the $5,000
That's
job right there.
It won't sound right if you don't have a stupid washer holding the pick guard together and mismatched knobs.
I
and
love everything about this
tape.
guitar.
This tape is very important to the tone.
So, with your band Helms Alee, like I have listened to the records, but I'd never seen you live, and I hadn't put together that sound, that very big, mean, dirty sound, is coming out of a Jazzmaster. Not the guitar I would necessarily associate with that. How did this come to be this guitar for you?
I mean, I actually traded or bought this guitar from my old bandmate in a band called Harkonnen. Casey Hardy played this guitar, and then he was moving and he needed some cash, I think is how it worked out, and so I ended up with the guitar, and then years later we started that band, and I think I was just plugging in the same fuzz pedals that I was using for bass in that band, and it was just, you stick anything through that fuzz pedal and it sounds like that fuzz pedal, so
Yeah.
it turned out it really didn't matter too much what the pickups were or what guitar it was. So half of Helms Alee is that kind of big wall of fuzz sound, and then the other stuff that's a little more cleaner, slightly overdriven, you can kind of hear more of the Jazzmasterness.
What fuzz is that? Just so
So it was a Bruno fuzz wah, Japanese kind of super fuzz knockoff thing that I ended up doing a couple tweaks and noodles to over the years. But it's more or less that kind of super fuzz vibe. Yeah.
And then this, am I right? 1999, 2000 Fender American
Yeah.
Vintage.
99, I believe. Yeah.
Because they only did this is Sherwood Green.
Sherwood Green, I believe that's the color. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the only couple years they did it. So
Oh, really?
it's easy to
Oh.
get in on the Sherwoods.
If you're you.
My favorite Fender custom color. So
I like it a lot. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's not very tough, or whatever, but it's just kind of weird.
It's tough.
If you
Come
smash
on,
it enough, and
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one of these like rusted full through. Do you use a vibrato arm on this, or no? That's just a stop tail.
I push.
Do you really?
Like a button, yeah. Yeah, but I don't really stick a thing in there.
So,
Yeah.
Obviously this has been through the ringer. What Mustang bridge on there so you can actually play this thing a bit harder.
Yeah, and this was I mean, it's not like a secret. I think this happens a lot of times. People do that, but I think it was Rick at Guitar Maniacs. I took it in to as pop breaking strings, and he was like, get rid of this thing. The original one with the ridges on it.
Yeah, the threaded saddles that just strings move around everywhere.
I guess, that was the deal. So after that, this has been there ever since, but I think there's some other solutions nowadays. You could probably tell me a thing or 25 about.
We'll get into it. I've got a case over here that we'll crack into that might have one of those solutions on it.
I'm eager to hear. Yeah.
So what else has been? Anything else been changed on this? I mean, is it just straight and rip it, original pickups, all that?
So these have been replaced.
Okay.
But it was only due to Hosey, who plays drums in Helms Alee. We were practicing in her basement for years in Tacoma, and there was a flood, and basement full of water, so all of our instruments were
Oh my
floating
God.
around in there. So pickups were dead, so I had to replace those. But I don't think I had to replace too
Same-ish
much.
pickups in there?
I think I
or-
just ended up getting the kind of standard Fender,
Yeah.
the normal. But I've since had other people approach me about what seem to be improvements, or so they say, or you can, they have humbuckers that fit these nowadays and all that kind of stuff. But I just have this real ain't broke, don't fix kind of thing. So that's why, hence the duct tape, zip tie sort of nature of my keeping this thing together. I just, a little bit of, I don't know, what's the word? People kind of just stick with their weird ideas even though they don't make sense. What's the word?
It's going to come across the bottom of our screen here.
Perfect. Yeah, whatever that word is, I'm a little bit like that for this guitar.
I had this kind of perception going into doing this series that was like, oh yeah, well people are gonna bring in their instruments and they're gonna be modded or changed over. We're 3 for 3 so far of, nah, it's pretty much
Stock.
exactly stock.
Oh, you know what I did do? I chopped out all this stuff. As much as it's cool, I just didn't want to bump into it on accident. I had this, like taped down for years, and then finally I was just like in there doing something, and I was, well, I don't need any of that stuff. So
I was at a shoegaze show years ago at the Comet Tavern and watched somebody the pedal board this big and Fender Jaguar doing the kind of My Bloody Valentine thing.
Yep.
And then the sound just cuts out entirely.
Yeah.
He's going through every single pedal on the board all the way down, and I'm looking at the selector switch going, it's I see it, it's right there. So I completely understand why you eliminated the rhythm circuit.
it probably happened to me at least a couple times over the years.
It's just like super dark all of a sudden.
Yeah, trying pedals and
Yeah, I mean, these
need to borrow
things
an amp.
happen to the best of us, right?
yeah. It's always a simple thing.
So it's crazy for as long as you have had Verellen Amplifiers and Barhouse literally right down the street, and we've been here in this location for like 7-8 years now. This is the first time you and I have sat down and like,
How is it possible?
how did this?
Yeah, it's so strange. Sometimes Fremont feels like the smallest town in a city, of its own. You see a lot of people the same, like every day almost.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of people I'll have a conversation like this. Who are like, oh yeah, I work at this blah 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 right next door, and I'm like, how have we never met? I just haunt this 3-block radius every day, but it can happen, I guess.
Well, I don't know if you feel the same with Barhouse. Like I arrive here and I'm sucked into this vortex. And then I leave. I all my energy is drained out of me, and I never even make it down the block.
That's legit. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I can relate to that too. And for a long time, it was, I'd be downstairs in the amp shop working on amps all day, and then I'd hear the commotion upstairs at the bar and hear people having fun. I recognized that laugh, some funny buddies up there, so I couldn't really escape without getting sucked up into the Barhouse thing after work, but
It's the opposite for me. when we used to be, before we had this place, when we were in the duplex,
right,
and I was living upstairs and the shop was downstairs, and it'd be the exact same thing. It's like, I recognize that laugh, and then that person would just come up into the kitchen and get glasses and be like, we're getting a growler from next door.
Hey.
So yeah, I mean, well, we've
Party came to you.
we've hinted at it a couple times here, and this is just living here in the middle of us. Tell me about your amp company. Tell me about Verellen for those that don't know, and that's relationship with Barhouse and all of the things you do.
Well, so that kind of came right out of the end of me studying electrical engineering at UW down the street.
Yeah.
So this professor that I was studying under, he kind of got me going on a few projects specifically on tube amp stuff, and I was like, this is what I want to learn. They don't teach it. Will somebody teach me? And I emailed every professor. He responded and kind of got me going on these projects. And after we did a couple of those, he had me do some guest lectures in his class that he was teaching, and eventually said, you should think about starting a business doing this. I'd be an investor. And that
Really?
was kind of the like, ugh. And it just kind of went from there, and borrowed a bunch of nice people's money and started a company. And then the 2008 recession happened. It was super scary. But, 10, 12 years later, finally got to pay everybody back. And by that time, we'd done about, 1,000 amps or so. And most of them custom, but a few different models.
I mean, there's the Meat Smoke. That's the ubiquitous, the Verellen amp I think most people think of.
I always wanted it to be, models A, B, C, D. Meat Smoke, Skyhammer, Laux, and Spaldo, and the Coupe were kind of the sort of stock things, circuits that tried to kind of make it into this streamlined, like what I jealously see Chris Benson doing these days.
Oh,
He's
sure.
got these amp models, and just go with them. But I would inevitably be, shy for rent, and somebody would hit me up and say, I want something like an orange, but I want it to be 300 watts, and I want it to have a spring reverb tank, and blah, 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 whatever. And I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, half out of necessity and half like, I really want to know what that sounds like. And so it was a lot of like research on the job kind of stuff, and kept it interesting for, I guess it was probably about, 16 years of just steady going before kind of decided to pump the brakes. Because my neighbors upstairs from the shop, they moved out, and the landlord said, do you want to expand up onto the street level? Because the shop was facing the
Sure, it's in the alley.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't think I'm going to sell a lot of guitar amps on the street, and the rent's very expensive up here. And booze, however.
It sure is.
Dude,
Booze, however.
So that was the thing that we decided to give a shot at, and thought it was going to be a lot harder going, and sadly, or very fortunately in my case, it's easier to sell a booze than it is to sell a guitar amp. Custom built to somebody's specs. They want to buy a beer. So fine, we'll sell beers instead. And so
Well, it's not like your bar. In a similar way to, I hear Helms Alee and then I go, wow, this Jazzmaster. When I hear you're opening a bar, I wasn't thinking fully themed little environments and this like love of kitsch and a row of blow mold Santa Clauses and snow that happens. Tell me what the journey is to that for you.
I mean, it kind of all comes back to playing in bands, and I would say playing in Helms Alee with two other very creative, very silly people. That was all going on at the same time as the amp business was starting, and it all felt synergetic. Similarly, we'd be on tour and kind of killing time in the van and chit-chatting about, what if we had our own bar? And, I'm a Disneyland nut. My bandmates are into it too. And,
Dude.
Okay.
Huge.
Cool.
Themed environments.
I mean, it's a very diet, very like B, C, D level version of, but aspire to kind of, have some of the same silliness and feelings as some of the stuff that you see at those big cool theme parks. So if we had this tiny bar, what would the rooms be? How would we do it? And so when it came time to do the bar, Hosey took the bathroom and made it a submarine, designed all that, and Dana took the forest room and designed the whole forest room theme there, and then I had a couple other ideas for behind the bar. There's an amp that has the taps, and then there's the buttons. You push the buttons and it does silly stuff with lights and sound in the bar. So that was kind of the like engine nerding, part of the project of building a bar that we thought was really important. But as soon as we opened the doors, people were like, oh yeah, that's cool. Anyway, what kind of beer do you have?
Hey, now wait a minute. Who said anything about drinking?
I was like, oh, okay. Right. You don't care about any of this stupid, silly. But
it's interesting, at least we've seen it here too, where we're trying to build spaces that are, consistent with the instruments that are in there. So some very mid-century modern spaces, things like that, where we also get really ginned up and really excited about the spaces, and the people that resonates with, that's really cool, but it does end up being a really small percentage.
Right.
And I had no idea that Hosey and Dana were involved with the different rooms there.
Yeah, tons of spitballing in the van led to all that stuff, and some elbow grease too. They were in there doing crafts and, involved. It's cool.
Already had Helms Alee rhythm section envy, and now that is just a whole nother.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how that works out. It's like, it's fun to be an amateur trying things that you don't necessarily feel professional at, just to see how far you can go with it. And
Well,
I think that kind of carries through.
You absolutely slayed it. I've gotten smashed in your space room in the back of
Sorry.
bar. No, it's great. It's just the more drinks that go down, the more that there's blacklight paint.
It won't
in
work
there.
unless you have, yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
I had no idea that you had reacquired this. I am so thrilled that this amp exists. What is this amp?
This is probably the amp I'm most proud of as a custom project, and it kind of came about, Seattle Times did some kind of thing about the amp company, and Paul Allen saw it, and he had a band and recording engineer guy who was a buddy, mutual friend, so he asked him to come down and check out the amp company, and he did, and me and that buddy were talking about what would we do, and I was like, why, let me make him a Seahawks amp, because I'm an obsessed Seahawks
What?
fan. Yeah, let me tell you something. Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. And so he was like, yeah, let's do it. They'd just beaten the Packers and were going to the Super Bowl. And he's like, let's surprise them after the Super Bowl at the party. So if you can crank out this amp in a week.
Oh my God.
And we were like, yup, we can. So we busted. There's a cab that goes with this that's still at home. So in a week, we busted out this crazy Seahawks themed amp, knobs that go to 12. There's a foot switchable beast mode that turns the eye from green to red as it is now and engages additional gain stage.
Are you kidding me? Holy catfish!
And it's a Fender Twin and a JCM 800 preamp, foot switchable between the two.
6Ls or
I think we did KT66 in there.
Okay, that makes a lot of
that's what we
sense.
ended up on. Just banged it out, and it was great. And then the Seahawks went to the Super Bowl, and it was going to be this victorious moment at the end when they would have won, and they would have.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler.
Yanked out carpet. There was some personal twinge to that whole heartbreaking
Yeah.
loss, and so there was no after party. Paul Allen didn't get introduced to the amp at the after party that would have happened, and so it was like weeks later. I think I leaked the story of this amp's existence on social media, and I guess I wasn't supposed to, but GeekWire wrote about it, and anyway, the buddy that made all this happen, he told me at some point later, he's like, yeah, Paul, he knows about it. And I guess he came up to that engineer guy and said, what's up with this guitar amp that there's like press about? And so he explained it to him. He's like, that's that guy Ben, and anyway. So
I feel like, at least in my mind's eye, I've seen a photo of Paul playing this though. Like he did get to play it at some point, right?
I believe so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel
The
like
guy's in his
photographic
band.
evidence exists
Yeah.
of
It happened, as far
enjoyment.
as I know.
Perhaps someone watching tonight knows what happened and can reveal the truth. Perhaps it's you.
And so he had it for some amount of time in his recording studio, and I did get to go to a game and watch from the owner's box and meet Paul Allen, and it was a really, really cool experience. And
Patron saint of Seattle and the arts,
he did
Paul
a lot of
Allen.
incredible
Yeah.
stuff. Rich people don't always do the kind of cool, weird art and music stuff that somebody like that did. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Seahawks,
Seahawks,
Cinerama Theater,
yeah.
Mopop Museum.
Yeah.
I mean, so much of Seattle's cultural identity was intertwined with him
Yeah.
when he was doing it.
Totally. So I really appreciated that I got to do that. And then sadly he passed away, and I kind of got word that some of the equipment was being parsed out, and I was really proud of that we built this thing at all and that we got to do it, and in the heat of that crazy Seahawks mania fanfare a couple of years, and So I wanted it back as just kind of a memento of that weird time, and was able to get it back, and I'll never let it go. Never.
Well, it's back where it should be, and it's emblematic of what, like, visually, Verellen Amps have such a unique thing, because there's no Tolex going on here.
Right.
This is burned in, etched in. What's the process for something like this? Because all of your amps have some element of that.
Yeah, we had a brand made at some point, so a lot of the faces were just, an electric brand that we'd hooked up. And then as people wanted more and more sophisticated stuff, so we ended up getting in cahoots with a local laser, CNC laser etching kind of deal. And so they would cut stuff like this, burn it out. And so that's how we did this, and they burned out the hole, and then the shape of that hole, they also cut out a piece of plexiglass, and got weird with it. And if you look really close, there's a million little Seahawks logos as a texture on that.
What?
I don't know why they did that, but it's kind of funny.
At least from here, I can't even.
It's
but
very hard to see.
that's our
texture in the
Easter egg
back is-
right there.
Yeah, pretty bizarre.
Well, hey, with Seattle sports, there's always next year.
It's always next year, that's right.
Having grown up here, it's always next year with
right.
Seattle. Well, I brought a Jazzmaster too.
Let's see your Jazzmaster. Let's see boogers
Hiding
on your
over
guitar.
here. Yeah, it's disgusting, this guitar, Just an absolute trip of a little get here.
Ooh,
Hey,
that
it's
neck
blue.
looks very loved.
Yeah.
It's just this really cool burly stuff.
Yeah, it's just
Incredible.
That's kind of the thing that drew me to this one, is it was all of the bird's eye on the neck was so prominent, even in the really not great photos I saw. And I was like, wow, that's unusual. And then I was like, gold hardware, also not the norm. And then my buddy Joe Riggio, who does most of the high-end finish for the shop, did this in what he calls Mike's Daphne. Because when he shoots Daphne blue, it's like, I always want it to be a little bit more saturated than it is. So he's like, all right, we'll chip it just one more over the edge so
That's
it
so
gets
cool.
that color out of it.
That's
And,
beautiful.
So these bridges that people have been trying to sell you,
Yeah.
I'm
What
pretty
is-
sure this is the thing.
What how?
So, yeah, right. Yeah, that's the Mastery bridge, which is kind of like
Okay.
the Sonic Youth and Wilco.
Okay.
And hard chrome plated brass and self-lubricating. So you have so few pieces on that. I love this. You've got two posts that go all the way in. So does that one still rock with the bridge?
Yeah.
Or with the
Yeah. Mhm.
This doesn't do that. The posts fill the inserts completely, so you
it's
just
solid.
Yeah, you get all that string energy transfers into the body. And then because these are self-lubricating, if you're like me and you're a big wiggle stick guy, then no friction here, nothing gets caught up.
Cool.
And just loud. It makes your guitar freaking loud.
Damn.
Not necessarily for every purist out there. And again, like, if you like the thing that it does, don't change the way that
I'm
it
so
does.
scared to
But
change. Yeah.
this one had the original bridge on it, and it was just like, it was just, I'm playing a lot of like heavy surf 16th note picking stuff, or just rock and
Rad.
roll, and so just strings falling out all over the place without something like that on there. But
Well, I see you're missing the key ingredient of.
what am I missing?
There's no stupid
No
washer.
washer.
I don't know how it's gonna sound right.
I think that is probably the compromising factor right there. There's definitely like an offset guitar forum
Can't have it all.
thread going right now about like, it's not about the gold anodized guard, it's
The
about the
key.
washer on the
The
input
key.
jack.
Yes,
That
the
really, I mean, I could turn this knob all the way up, but would it be as satisfying as your witch hat knob?
It's not. Yeah.
I don't think so.
Nope. It won't sound right. More tape, washers, telling you.
This wear is what certain sects will call false valor. I didn't earn any of this, man. You earned every nick and ding and
Earned. I mean, I don't know. It's to the point where it's just like, man, like take a shower. You know, like,
it doesn't look like you've never cleaned this guitar. I mean, it looks like you've maintained
get outside, get a little daylight.
You know,
don't.
This is the basement.
You don't have to live this way. Come on, man, shave.
All right, well, shoot, Ben. I want to hear this. I want to hear that. Can we put the two together and see what happens?
Absolutely.
Everyone, thank you for joining us on Sharing is Shredding. If you are in the Seattle area, do yourself a favor, head on down to Bar House and wet your whistle. You will not regret it. And if you are lucky enough to find a Verellen amplifier on the secondary market, pick that thing up.
And if you do, please get in touch because I do keep these things working for people that have them used or what have you.
And you might regret you said that.
Might.
Thank you for being on YouTube. If you've enjoyed YouTube, come to YouTube next time and we'll YouTube again some more.